Theorizing that one can time travel within their own lifetime, Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the Quantum Leap Accelerator and listened to the newest episode of Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast where we follow two first-time readers, Sheta and Justin, and chronicle their journey through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. On today's episode, we will be chronicling the beginning of Mistborn, the Final Empire, the prologue, and then chapters 1 through 3. And now, let's throw it over to the host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe! Yep, and as you heard, this is once again Cosmere Chronicles. Our name has not changed since last week, even though we are starting a new book. We're still the same Cosmere Chronicles as we have been in the past. And I still am Joe. My name hasn't changed. And once again, I'm joined by Sheta and Justin. How are the two of you doing today?
Good.
Also good. Also, name has not changed for those curious.
Oh yeah, mine neither. Why did we need to...
Well, you never know. What if they had? How embarrassing would it have been if we kept calling you Rodrigo and then everyone kept saying, who the hell is that?
Okay.
Or you don't know. There could have been like somebody going back in time. They changed something in the past, ripple effect, and because of that, your name changed. So,
okay, but to be fair, wouldn't it have also changed in the listener's memory as well?
No, it's this whole like weird time dilation thing. So,
so it changes everything except podcast recordings. Is that it?
Yep.
Our podcast is kept outside the time.
Oh, we have a chronally stabilized podcast. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Good. I was wondering about that.
Wow, that's special.
Yep, we're high tech. But anyways, so this week we're not going to do a recap of the last chapters because we're starting a new book. So we're a couple chapters into the book. How are you two feeling about the new book?
I'm very interested. It's very different, and I'm really enjoying what I've seen so far.
Yeah, it's a completely new, different tone than Elantris was. And
I'm liking that I'm seeing a lot of the same themes and ideas, though, so it's very interesting to see it done in a different world.
That's true.
Yep, and, whenever I start a new fantasy book, I always like the first couple chapters when I'm just completely confused as to what's going on, and I'm trying to figure it all out. Because in this book, it's just throwing all sorts of terms and everything at you that you are not going to understand what it means. But then afterwards, if you go back and reread the book, you'll understand exactly what they're all talking about.
That's how it was with Elantris, too, for me. A lot of names and terms, and he really likes doing entire world builds, seems like.
Yeah, that is interesting to see that he clearly is set out to build a whole new world here. Because I expected, for it to have be basically a reskinned version of the last thing. But we're already seeing that all the rules, the magic stuff, the ideas and stuff are a totally new thing. If you told me it was a new writer, I would have believed you a little bit.
Yeah.
And it really feels like lived in with the world. It doesn't feel like, like the world just started yesterday. Because with the way they're talking, characters talk with each other, with the way they talk about the, empire and all that, it's spoken of with like a familiarity and not as if they're trying to hold the reader's hand through it. And I think the biggest difference that we'll find from Elantris is going to be that a lot of magics were lost and then Raoden had to learn them as he went through. This one, the magics are still known by people, so it's not a learning process for the, it's not them trying to refine it, it's them trying to teach. All right, so anything else you two wanted to bring up before we dive into the chapters?
No, not that I can think of.
No, nothing specific.
All right, we'll go into it. Starting off with the prologue. And I'm going to start off with them, the way that the Mistborn, trilogy is built. They have epigraphs at the beginning of each chapter. So, like Duke had them, and Watership Down would have epigraphs at the beginning of chapters. And with these, be sure you always read them. They are important. It's not just throwing something that's thrown in there. So, and I will still read them because I've listened to other podcasts that read them, and I just feel like it helps set the tone for discussing the chapter. Starting off with the prologue, the epigraph. Sometimes I worry that I'm not the hero everyone thinks I am. The philosophers assure me that this is the time. signs have been, but I still wonder if they have the wrong man. So many depend on me. They say I will hold the future of the entire world on my arms. What would they think if they knew that their champion, the hero of ages, their savior, doubted himself? Perhaps they wouldn't be shocked at all. In a way, this is what worries me most. Maybe in their hearts they wonder, just as I do. When they see me, do they see a liar? All right. Any thoughts on just that little section there?
Made me curious about who's talking and what his relation is to the story.
Yeah, it seems really epic.
So then we'll start off into the prologue. So begin, with ash falling from the sky. Pretty much this world, it's, the world is set up where it's always like kind of snowing ashes falling from the sky. The sky is, pretty much red. The sun is red. Plants are brown. It's so different than our planet. And with them having the red sun and stuff, ash falling, it's dying. So, spoiler, the final book will end with Jor-El sending his son off the planet.
Hey.
Damn it. So the Cosmere, you're saying, is the C in DC. That's what it stands for? That's the twist at the end?
Yes. Yeah, Brandon Sanderson actually wrote Mistborn as his way to try to write a Superman.
Well, he's doing a fucking terrible job, just saying. Because this was an awful Superman story so far.
All right, anyway, so it begins, ash is falling from the sky. And Lord Trestine, he's a plantation owner, and he is watching over his slaves, which are called Skaa. All right, and Trestine, he's talking with an obligator, which is a person that must oversee every transaction between nobles. Obligators have tattoos around their eyes, and the more tattoos they have around it, the higher rank they are. And this one is one of the highest ranks, a Pralin. And this obligator, he is Lord Venture's obligator, and is here on his behalf for a transaction.
This is so interesting to start with, because to immediately start with some like dystopian bureaucracy, because it gave me flashbacks to how Elantris was set up already this fast.
Yep, the two of them talk about Skaa, and the obligator says that the Skaa in the city are lazier than the plantation Skaa. Trestine says that he loses a few Skaa each month, some to beatings and others to exhaustion. He doesn't have runaways, though. When he had first inherited the plantation from his father, he did have some runaways, and after he killed the families of those runaways, the rest of the Skaa learned not to run.
And this guy was so goddamn unlikable so quickly.
I said he's good at that.
Yeah.
Making such unlikable. I was like, all right, this guy's the worst. Like,
yeah, well, this guy was already more unlikable than anyone in Elantris within like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And Trestine doesn't own, the Skaa there. All Skaa are property of the Lord Ruler. Just lease them from him. And the obligator, he's here for that, what they were talking about earlier, but he's also here for another reason. There are rumors Trestine likes to dally with his Skaa women. Trestine's worried from this, but the obligator says that if there really was a problem, then a Steel Inquisitor would already be here. And the obligator sees that Trestine cleans up his messes, so there is no issue here about that.
They answer it later, but I was so curious, why the hell would they care about that? So I think it's interesting that there was a good answer to that later.
Yeah, this first chapter is a really good job of showing like just how horrible this slavery system is.
Yeah. Well, once you mix slavery and bureaucracy and stuff, it gets really scary.
It's the worst of humanity.
Mm-hmm. Like the two worst elements.
Yeah.
And just that cold business-minded logic to it is so creepy to listen to.
Yeah, but to people, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and then Trestine thinks about how he wants to have a celebration tonight. There is a young Skaa woman that he has been eyeing, so he plans on taking her.
Yeah.
And he's looking over at the Skaa that are working, and one of them is looking back at him with a look of defiance in his eyes, and then that Skaa smiles. Trestine calls for a taskmaster, but when he looks back, that man is gone. And he tells the taskmaster to beat a few of the Skaa. And the taskmaster just shrugged because, it's not much of a reason to beat them, but he doesn't need much of a reason to beat the workers. They're only Skaa, after all. And then we switch POVs to Kelsier, who's the man that was the one that had been looking at Trestine. And he goes into a Skaa hovel that night, and they're pretty much cooking food, but all they're doing is just boiling water. They don't really have food. So he goes to a Skaa hovel that night, and a man called Tepper complains to him about how Kelsier had skipped out on the work. Kelsier is a traveler that had just come into the plantation. He says that Kelsier could have gotten some of the men whipped, but Kelsier says that the men could have been whipped for anything. And Kelsier, he opens the door and is about to leave. Outside, it's just filled with mist. Mist won't come inside the buildings at all. And the mist only comes out at night. The Skaa, they are frightened. They tell him to close the door. Kelsier abides, and he tells them stories about what he has heard while he's been traveling around. There is a Lord Renew who is said to be much nicer to the Skaa and even is beginning to pay them. Tepper doesn't believe Kelsier. He says that he has heard about him and recognizes him from the scars on his arms. He is known as a survivor, and he goes from plantation to plantation, bringing trouble. Kelsier then brings out a bag filled of food they had stolen from Trestine's mansion and gives it to the Skaa. An old man named Menace talks to Kelsier. He fears that Kelsier will bring trouble to them and asks how Kelsier is able to smile so much. Kelsier answers that the Lord Ruler thinks he has claimed joy for himself, so smiling is just a small way to rebel. And then there's a scream outside. Kelsier burns tin, which raises his senses, and a woman inside their hovel says that is Jess's daughter. It's unlucky for Skaa to have a pretty daughter. It was only a matter of time before Trestine took her. Kelsier begins to get angry and asks if Trestine ever returns the daughters. Menace says that Trestine is law-abiding, and he has the girls killed after a few weeks. It is the Lord Ruler's command. He can't have half-breed children running around with powers that the Skaa don't even know exist. Kelsier gets angrier, and he hears screams from his past. Kelsier leaves out into the mist and tells them that the new days are coming, and if they survive a little longer, then they might see great happenings in the final empire.
I thought it was so sad when he describes it as he heard a scream, a girl, maybe a child. That was so creepy to listen to. Because I was wondering when he said how this girl was young, just how young she was.
I don't think they give an age. I always figured it was probably like 14 or 16.
They didn't give an age, but Kelsier just in his head thinks he couldn't get the age, but it was very young. When I was imagining when he said that he saw this young girl, I imagined she was like 20, maybe 18, 19, maybe even 16. But it just sounded so hopeless and dark when they talk about it like that.
Creepy, Dusty.
Yeah.
I thought it was sad when everyone was like, "Oh, yep, that was bound to happen." Like, like just matter of fact, like I thought it was the man that's like, "Yeah, it's still a thing, though." Like, they seem to feel really, really bad about it, but they're just so hopeless. This sounds awful.
And the fact they say that he's a law-abiding citizen, so he has the girls killed after a few weeks.
Yeah. Oh, it's getting me all flipped. Like,
right.
I thought it was creepy that he kills them after a couple weeks. That's creepy!
And the next morning, Menace fears that Kelsier died since he never returned to the hovel. After forcing himself out of bed, he heads outside, and the Skaa find Jess and her daughter are both fine. Jess mentions that the others in her hovel were worried that her daughter was taken and impersonated by a mist wraith. But now that she is out in the sun, then that means that she is normal. And everyone sees that the manor has been burned to the ground. Jess's daughter says that he killed all of them. Then he threw a torch in the manor. Tepper worries what will happen when the Lord Ruler hears of this. He might send them to the pits of Hathsin or send Kolos after them. Menace realizes that this is what Kelsier wanted. He gave them no choice. They can either stay and die or leave. Menace mentions that he has heard of rebel Skaa hiding in the caves to the east, so they can head there. That's the end of the prologue.
I was so happy because I'm like all settled in for this guy to be a big character going forward. Just an unlikable antagonist. So when he's very quickly, him and all his people in his mansion just brutally murdered by this guy, it's like, I see. This is just to make us think this guy's awesome pretty much right away.
Yeah.
Like, oh, badass guy who doesn't abide by a poor young girl being raped. We're all good on this guy.
Yeah.
And then you have the myths that they're all afraid to go out into, except Kelsier went out into them. And that, they believe, they were worried about a mist wraith. It's probably the same thing as the creature at the end of the movie The Mist.
That's what I imagined.
For their sakes, I certainly hope not. No, I was more imagining the ghosts from The Fog, personally.
I still haven't watched The Fog. Either of them.
I never saw the remake. It's a John Carpenter movie that surprisingly, wasn't that into. Like the only one I feel that way about.
But the remake has Tom Welling in it.
Does it really?
Yeah, he stars in it.
Well, you might have sold me.
All right. Just question. So, what were you guys thinking? How were you into this just after reading the prologue?
Well, they've already got all my favorite themes, you know. Murder of slavers, creepy, borderline religious and government nightmare stuff. Badass guy who doesn't abide by bad stuff, but also seems really haunted and just scarred from his past. Just everything I like, all right in the beginning, basically. What's that?
He's got a curious past, a mysterious past. Yeah, like that.
So I'm all in on this book already.
Well, you
Yeah,
already
it's
know
very exciting.
he was sent to the pits of Hathsin and was able to escape from there.
Yeah, like I know what any of that fucking means. He was sent to the piss of a bookie dookie, and I don't know what any of that is.
All right. Anything else you two wanted to bring up with the prologue?
I just love a big hero, a good hero, like larger than life feeling kind of hero. And with how realistic everything, or how dour everything is, for him to be just such a cartoon hero about it, I really like that. So I'm excited to see more.
I'm curious because I do wonder about the hero thing because from his perspective, it sounds like obviously he's doing what needs to be done, you know? But a lot of the slaves didn't seem to agree, you know? They would rather things stay simple and calm, and he knows there's going to be consequences to them anyways, you know? So I'm curious to see what the morality of this book winds up being because, I mean, I think we would all agree with him that, you know, what are you just going to sit here and let this shit happen, you know? But when you're actually in the situation, your perspective's a lot different, of course. Because like they said, he was sent here to drum up trouble, right?
Yeah. And now they have no choice but to up and leave and, you know, make a decision. Like stay and die or go and die somewhere, you know, like the old man was kind of like, man, this guy.
Yeah, but he also seemed like a part of him was like, you know, there's a certain thankfulness to that, you know, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Forcing you to make that choice.
And the mother and daughter are happy about it.
Yeah. The daughter being all like sadistically happy was really interesting and funny to me.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on. So start off with part 1, The Survivor of Hathsin. Chapter 1. And Ash fell from the sky, and Vin is sitting in a watch hole in Cayman's safe house. She thinks about how her brother Reen had taught her that everyone will betray you, and then he eventually betrayed her as well. A boy named Ulef comes in and says that Cayman is looking for her. Vin leaves and thinks that because of Reen, she will never be free. Vin meets with Cayman, and he backhands her. He says that this is an important job worth thousands of boxings. He is upset because he had heard of an uprising that resulted in the death of Themos Trestine, and that uprisings are bad for business because it makes the nobles more alert and less gullible. Cayman is looking for someone to punish, and he lifts his hand to strike Vin again. Vin uses her luck and calms Cayman's nervousness. He lowers his hand. Cayman is dressed as a noble, and he meets with Theron, who is another crew leader. Theron has worked and planned on this deal for years. He is on his way to meet with Cayman. Vin mentions that the servants look too fine and that Cayman is supposed to be a desperate noble who would hire Skaa. Cayman is about to hit her again. Ed puts his hand on her shoulder and pinches her where the shoulder and neck meet. He says that Reen had debts when he ran away. Other, less merciful men would have sold her to the whoremasters months ago, where Vin would have been used by noblemen for months and then killed.
Again, instantly unlikable character. The person who's got somebody enslaved because of debts that they say somebody else incurred is always one of the most unlikable characters in a story.
Yeah, but he says that he's merciful. He could have sold her to the whoremasters.
Yeah, they always say they're merciful. They're like, that's what typical abusers do. So you're lucky to have me instead of somebody worse.
This part reminded me of when, like, my man wanted to eat you, but they never had cared before. Like,
yeah,
but I spared you. I'm a good person. Like, thank you.
Yeah, it's just also so unlikable because he keeps saying, "Oh, I'm so nice," but we know from a little bit later that he finds use out of her. That's why he keeps her around, you know.
Yeah.
But I like it really goes to set up her worldview about don't trust anyone. Everyone's a piece of scum. Everyone will betray you, you know.
Yep, she's living with that Stone Cold Steve Austin mentality. DTA, don't trust anyone.
Yep. That's what I'm sure they're going for.
Really?
All right, so then Cayman meets with the obligator named Prelon Laird. He had offered to allow the ministry to use his canal boats, but the obligator says that they declined his offer. Cayman says that he is a desperate house, and a desperate house would be better than one with many contracts, because they will focus more on making sure the ministry gets taken care of instead of it just being another one of their deals. Cayman uses her luck to make Laird less suspicious and afraid, and then he agrees to bring a new proposal to the council. And that's the end of the first chapter. Just an introduction to Vin and everything.
When she used her luck power, you know, I don't know what that is at this point. I barely know now. But I was worried for pretty much the exact reason that the book tells me later I should have been, because I'm like, whatever this is, it seems like something that the rich people would probably know about at the very least.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I really like how he phrased it. I was like, I feel like I've had dreams like that, where I had some kind of power of influence. And it was
Where you
like,
could just persuade people
yeah, just
or make
do
them
it in my
feel
head.
things.
hmm
I like how she just calls it luck, you know?
Yeah, it's really cute. I really like that. She's like, I don't know what it is, but I just do it. And I call it luck, you know? Just wish good luck.
All right. Anything else from this chapter you two wanted to go over?
No, I'm good. Pretty straightforward. Still don't know the characters yet, but, you know, we learned a lot about her.
Mhm.
It's interesting to look at the covers first and start to, in my head, try to pick apart what I think things are.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, the first girl who walks into the book, she's fated for me to think, oh, that's the girl from all the covers, even with no evidence of it.
All right. We'll go on to chapter 2. Oh, shoot. I forgot to read the epigraph from the last one. So we'll start with the chapter 1 epigraph. I consider myself to be a man of principle, but what man does not? Even the cutthroat, I have noticed, considers his actions moral after a fashion. Perhaps another person, reading of my life, would name me a religious tyrant. He could call me arrogant. What is to make that man's opinions any less valid than my own? I guess it all comes down to one fact. In the end, I'm the one with the armies.
But yeah, I almost picked that as my quote, but luckily I did not.
Guess we don't pick any of those to be quotes.
I like these at the beginning. Like I said, I feel like a lot of them are pretty good discussion points. And chapter 2, the epigraph. If men read these words, let them know that power is a heavy burden. Seek not to be bound by its chains. The terrorist prophecies say that I will have the power to save the world. They hint, however, that I will have the power to destroy it as well.
That's where I started to think these felt like Dune ones. They're talking about these big grand things.
Yeah, it sounds very epic.
So then chapter 2 begins with Kelsier. He's on the walls of Luthadel looking over the city. He's watching Skaa shovel ash into the rivers. It has been 3 years since Kelsier was captured, and he suspects that most people won't recognize him in the city. He thinks about the Lord Ruler and how the Lord Ruler is immortal, and that the Lord Ruler had made his closest friends nobles and still holds their descendants in high regard.
That was a crazy idea to me. An immortal ruler where the lineage thing isn't just out of nowhere, but it's because of an actual tangible reason from long ago. That's actually a really creepy idea to me.
Yeah, that's what I thought when they were like, yep, they don't want any half-breeds with superpowers. And I was like, what was that? Like,
Yeah.
superpowers? Like,
That's what you say about the lived-in setting. Just drop these things. Like, we all know that. I'm like, I've never heard that before. Jesus, that's crazy.
Right. And then a man named Doxon meets with Kelsier. He is dressed like a nobleman, but neither of them are noblemen. Kelsier is half noble, half Skaa. That is worse than being full Skaa. Doxon says that Kelsier was late, and Kelsier mentions that he had accidentally killed Trestine. Doxon asks how one accidentally kills a lord, and that he had forgotten how foolhardy Kelsier was. Kelsier asks if Doxon has the meeting set up. Doxon says that it'll be this evening. Breeze and Ham will be there. Kelsier asks about Trap, but Doxon says that Trap had been caught and killed. So Kelsier says that they need a smoker. Doxon suggests Ruddy, but Kelsier says he's not a good enough man. So Kelsier suggests Clubs, and that he is the best smoker in the business. Doxon says he had heard that Clubs was hard to work with, and also that one of Clubs' relatives was a Tin Eye. So like right here in the story, you're just getting a lot of names and just terminology of like powers and stuff just thrown at you.
Yeah, it's just like Ocean's 11
What?
heist. Like, like we need a hacker. Okay, let's see. Like, I know
Except you
this
don't know
guy.
what any of the stuff they're saying means.
Yep. It's like,
I
yeah,
figure a smoker has to be something with the mist or traveling through it. That's my guess. I don't know.
I thought it was someone who might like hide your people with smoke. I don't know. That's what I imagined.
And then they talk about how Yeadon will be at the meeting. Kelsier says that Dockson didn't mention Marsh. Dockson says that Marsh won't work with Yeadon or the rebellion anymore, that they need someone else to infiltrate the Obligators. Kelsier says that he will be able to persuade his brother Marsh. Dockson says that since they have a few hours, that there is something that he wants to show Kelsier. And then we jump over to Vin. And Vin is in the corner of Cayman's safe house trying to be alone. It's a few days after their meeting with Laird, and Cayman had whipped her the day before. The beatings don't hurt much anymore, and she has gotten used to it after Reen used to abuse her. Cayman stands up and says that it's time. They head to the Ministry's Canton of Finance. Vin wonders why they are meeting here without Theron, and Cayman confirms that he is betraying him. He will get a down payment from the Obligators and then skip town. When they realize that they were scammed, they will wind up going after Theron, who will now be too poor to be able to do anything. Vin thinks about how it was just another betrayal, and that's how life is. Everyone will eventually betray you. Cayman and Vin go in to meet with an Obligator. They'd expect him to meet with Laird, but instead they meet with an even higher ranked one named High Prelin Ariev. Cayman tries to plead his case, and something doesn't feel right to Vin. Once she uses her luck, Ariev immediately agrees to the agreement. This feels off to Vin, but Cayman doesn't seem to notice.
See, not only do they make Cayman an asshole who beats her, but they make him a moron too. That made me like him even less. I was like, man, this book does not want me to like this guy at all. Like, even if you don't know about the weird power, this is obviously a setup. It just feels too much like one. Everything was too damn easy.
All right, and then we jump back over to Kelsier and Dockson, and they're in the Canton of Finance, but they're in the Canton, and they're watching Cayman and Vin. And Dockson asks about the girl. The two of them head outside, and Kelsier asks Dockson how he had heard about her. He says that Cayman had tried to swindle Marsh a few months earlier, and the girl was with them. She has become moderately famous since she is always with Cayman during these meetings, and Dockson doesn't know if Cayman realizes what is going on. Kelsier frowns when he sees how Vin looks jumpy and that her face still has the discoloring from a bruise. Kelsier thinks about how he has to come up with something suitable to do to Cayman. Kelsier says that she is a Misting, and if Marsh believes that and if what Marsh believes is true, then she is more than that. She likely doesn't even realize what she's doing, and that's why she is doing it to people in the Ministry. The two of them notice Ariev meeting with the Steel Inquisitor. And Steel Inquisitors, they have two spikes through their eyes, with the back of them sticking out an inch from the back of their head.
That was quite a surprise, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the fuck?
Like,
just walks out. Yeah, I had to reread that a couple times.
I was like, say again?
Imagine that correctly.
Yeah, they talked about him with horror before, but I didn't know they were literal, like, freaking Hellraiser type, monsters.
Brandon Sanderson must, from these two books, have a love of really fucked up nightmare henchman things.
Yeah.
Oh, these are so much more disturbing than the Dakor.
Well, I assume things only escalate across the books. That's how things usually go.
And pretty much just kind of like just railroad spikes for eyes sticking out the back of the head. All right. And, Kelsier is talking to Dockson, and he says that the Obligators are trained to notice when an Allomancer messes with their emotions, and that the girl was detected. Dockson mentions that Cayman will wind up leading them back to a safe house, and dozens will die. Kelsier says that he won't let a possible Mistborn slip away, and he wants to speak to the girl. And then Kelsier pulls out a vial filled with an alcoholic solution and metal flakes inside. Iron, steel, tin, pewter, copper, bronze, zinc, and brass. The 8 basic allomantic metals. And, and then Kelsier asks Dockson to deal with the tails while he will handle the Inquisitor. It would be too dangerous to try to take on the Inquisitor, so he's just going to divert him. Kelsier, he drinks the vial, then he burns zinc and reaches out to pull on the Inquisitor's emotions. The creature froze and then spun, looking towards where Kelsier was. And that's the end of the chapter.
So for the hard magic system thing, they're not fucking around in this book. I was like,
Oh
Jesus,
yeah.
that's so crazy and detailed. That idea is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else from this second chapter?
I really didn't think we were going to see Kelsier again. I figured he would be like just a distant prologue character, like somebody off in the distance. I didn't think he'd pop in and be a real character, so I was very happy to see that because, I mean, he instantly endeared himself.
Yeah, same. I thought he would not come into play. I thought it would be like Shanks or something. I'm happy to find or feel that he might be the main character.
Well, Vin's got to be the main character, right?
They
Yeah.
both can be. It could be like a Natsu Lucy situation where they're both the main character.
Dude, you can say Lucy's one. She is a main character, but Natsu is the main character for sure. Lucy is the audience surrogate character, I'd say.
All right, so then we'll go on to chapter 3. So, epigraph. We arrived in Terrace earlier this week, and, I have to say, I find the countryside beautiful. The great mountains to the north, with their bald snowcaps and forested mantles, stand like the watchful gods over this land of green fertility. My own lands to the south are mostly flat. I think that they might look less dreary if there were a few mountains to vary the terrain. The people are mostly herdsmen, though timber harvesters and farmers are not uncommon. It is a pastoral land, certainly. Seems odd that a place so remarkably agrarian could have produced the prophecies and theologies upon which the entire world now relies.
That was an interesting thing to point out. Just that the culture who made it is not what you'd expect. Because you don't really think about the people who make these religions and these ideas. But they were just regular people. They weren't like, what you imagine biblical scholar people looking like in a modern day setting. What?
You can't say that. I'm just kidding.
What can't I say?
That they're normal people. Just kidding.
Why? What's the joke? I don't even get the joke.
They're prophets and mouthpieces of the God.
Well, yeah, even if somebody's a real mouthpiece of the God, they were just a regular person before that, right?
Makes me wonder what they're talking about. Like what religion? What
That too, of course.
And I think one part of this epigraph that I wanted to point out was just the line, like, stand like the watchful gods over this land of green fertility.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And one thing we know so far is that plants are not green, they're brown.
Yeah. What I assumed about these was that they were something really ancient. That was always my guess, so I didn't really think much about it.
Oh, what are these? Like, are they old journals? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Starting with the chapter, Vin is back at Cayman's safe house watching him count the money he had gotten from the ministry. Vin doesn't feel good about this, and she wants to leave. She has never been alone before. She had always been with Reen, and he took her from city to city, joining different thieving crews. Vin doesn't have friends, but Ulef was the closest thing to one. She goes to him and tells him that she wants to leave. She thinks that the ministry will come and doesn't want to be here when they do. Ulef says all right, and Vin goes to grab her things. And Vin goes to a room with a box that has her few belongings. A pebble from each city she's visited, an earring that Reen says their mother gave her, and a bit of obsidian that Reen had carried. It was the only thing he left behind when he left and abandoned her half a year ago. Vin puts on the earring, she pockets the pebbles, and then she's holding the obsidian in her hand. When Vin goes to leave, she finds Ulef with Cayman, and Cayman believes that she is going to betray them to the ministry. Cayman hits her with a stool, and then begins beating her. She can tell that he is drunk and he has murder in his eyes. She tries to use her luck, but it has run out, and it usually takes a couple days to recharge. Vin tries to look to the others for help, but they all look on in indifference. And she can hear Reen's voice in her head telling her that she'll never have any friends in the underworld. And then the front door bursts open. She sees an unknown man come into the room. He looks at Vin and his emotions lighten. Then he looks at Cayman and they go dark. Cayman is thrown back as if hit by a powerful punch. Vin begins to feel serene, and she realizes that someone else used luck on her. She looks around and sees that they are using luck on everyone, something that Vin could never accomplish. Another man walks in, and Cayman calls that man Dachshund. Vin realizes that she had seen these two men at the Canton of Finance. Cayman sees the scars on the one man's arms and calls him the survivor of Hassan. Then he calls him Master Kelsier. Cayman is thrown back once again. Kelsier says that these men owe him a great debt. He and Doxson saved their lives because their incompetent crew leader was followed by 2 Ministry scouts and a Steel Inquisitor. Kelsier says that he dealt with the Inquisitor and requires payment for services rendered. Milev, Cayman's second command, grabs the money they had just gotten and gives it to Kelsier. Kelsier thanks crew leader Milev and tells him to deal with Cayman. Don't kill Cayman, but Kelsier doesn't want Cayman to enjoy it. Milev says they will make Cayman a bigger. Vin assumes that Milev will just kill Cayman later once Kelsier isn't paying attention.
Oh, I just love how quickly this guy turned on his old boss when a new powerful guy stepped in.
Well, it seemed like he was being influenced.
It did seem like that, but it also seemed like, to me, you know, people who follow this kind of guy, they're only following him because they offer the most, right? You know, if somebody new comes in, they have no loyalty to him, you know. If they did, I have to imagine it would be a bit harder to persuade them to treat him this miserably, you know, this quickly at least.
And also, Kelsier is coming in with a reputation.
Mm-hmm.
They already know him, and they call him Master Kelsier and the survivor of Hassan.
That's why I think it's funny. I came in, thinks he's such a big shot, but, you know, you're only following a guy like that because of what he can offer. Guys like that are not popular for real.
Yeah, they don't have true loyalty from their people.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And they rule with fear, probably, you know.
Mm-hmm. Fear and promises of profit, you know. Once those two motivations are taken away and you're scared of somebody more and they can offer you more opportunities.
All right,
but it's
so
one of those situations where a man's going to be dragged off and crippled half to death and you think, oh, that's good.
All right, so then Kelsier says that they will use the safe house for their meeting later and ask Milev and everyone else to leave except Vin. He says he wants to have a private meeting with her and that Milev also needs to take the 4 watching through the peepholes. Kelsier tells Milev to make sure no one betrays him. They already have the eyes of the Steel Ministry. Don't make an enemy of him, too. After everyone leave, Kelsier and Doxson talk and joke with each other while Vin tries to figure them out. Kelsier tries to calm her again, but she fights it off, and that surprises him. Vin asks who he is, and he says that he is a crew leader, but his crew isn't like any she's probably known. He says that they are higher quality scavengers, more well-bred. When she says that they are noblemen, Kelsier says that he is a half-breed, like she is. Vin points out that Milev had called them Mistines, and that those are some kind of allomancers. Kelsier says that neither himself nor Doxson are technically Mistines, but they do associate with them. Vin thinks about how allomancy was a power given to the nobles by the Lord Ruler 1,000 years ago. She doesn't know what allomancy was, but it was said that one Mistine could be dangerous enough to kill an entire thieving crew. Kelsier asks Vin if she realizes what she did to the Obligator. She says that she used her luck, which she uses to make people less angry. Kelsier tells her that she will learn a lot, but one lesson cannot wait. Never use emotional allomancy on an Obligator. They are trained to recognize when their emotions are being manipulated. She was the one that brought the Inquisitor on them. Kelsier says they didn't kill the Inquisitor, but distracted him a bit. Inquisitors don't seem to follow the normal rules. The spikes to their eyes should kill them, and nothing Kelsier has learned about allomancy explains how they could still be alive.
I liked learning if that was a weird thing or something that made sense. I was glad they told us so quickly, because that was really confusing me.
And through all their conversations, they had brought her an ale because she had asked for it. But at this point, Kelsier asks why she hasn't drank it. And she says that they might have slipped something in it. Kelsier says that there is no need for that because he is going to have her drink a mysterious liquid willingly as he pulls out a vial. It is a vial with 2 of the allomantic metals. After Vin has Kelsier drinks half himself, she drinks the other half. And Vin feels a larger pool of her luck power than she's ever felt before. Kelsier has her use it. Then he asks her to see if she can go the opposite and inflame his emotions. Vin notices that she has 2 sources of power and does what Kelsier asked. Kelsier explains to Vin that even among the nobility, allomancy is moderately rare. It's hereditary, but breeding alone doesn't guarantee allomancy. A person that can use one of the 8 basic aspects of allomancy is called a Mistine. Sometimes the abilities can appear in Skaa if they have noble blood in their near ancestry. You can find a Mistine in 1 in 10,000 Skaa. Doxson asks who Vin's parents were. Vin says that she was raised by her half-brother Reen. Reen had told her that their mother was a whore, not by choice. Vin thinks about how her mother had tried to kill her when she was very young. Doxson asks about her father, and Vin says that he is a high prelate in the Steel Ministry. And so then Vin asks if she's a Mistine, and Kelsier tells her no. Mistines have access to 1 power, and Vin just showed that she has access to 2. If you have access to 2, then you have access to all of them. Vin is what they call a Mistborn. Even among the nobility, they are incredibly rare. Among the Skaa, Kelsier had only met 1 other. Vin asks what this means, and Kelsier says that she is special. If she was an aristocrat, then she would have been one of the most deadly and influential people in the Final Empire. Since she's not an aristocrat, then that means she doesn't have to play by their rules, and that makes her even more powerful. And that's the end of that chapter.
So, like you said, the magic stuff, what we're learning is going a lot faster than in Elantris. I'm surprised to have all this magic talk already and all these rules explained out already.
Mm-hmm. A lot of info and a lot of the ways of the world too being explained.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, we're 3 chapters in, and we've already gotten the "You're a wizard, Harry."
Well, how many chapters is that in Harry Potter, Sheta?
About the same. We learned that in Letters from No One, I believe, which is like the 3rd or 4th chapter. Well, we even found out about her parentage too.
Mm-hmm. All this stuff that I think a lot of writers would make this long, boring mystery. I'm glad for him to just say up front.
He's explaining it while also giving a mystery to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, her mother was a whore, and she also tried to kill Vin.
Also, that her brother is just her half-brother, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, he probably... I thought that maybe he had powers too, but now we know that he probably does not. And that he probably isn't going to survive very long without her magic powers.
Yeah, it didn't sound like he relied on her magic powers like this guy does. I feel like he's going to show up later. He seems too interesting. The kind of tough love guy who tried to show her what he believes is needed in the world and all that. It's so interesting to have one guy who beats her and he's like, oh, fuck that guy. And one guy who beats her and it's like, he taught her a valuable lesson, you know?
World's a tough place.
Yeah.
I wonder if he'll be a scumbag or not. Or if he's going to be kind of lovable.
Probably both would be my guess. If we see him again.
I can't believe that she's found already.
Yeah.
I thought that they'd spend the whole looking for her or waiting for them to all meet up and stuff.
Yeah,
they already went right to her and found her. That's crazy.
Anything else in this chapter you two wanted to go over or discuss?
I was really sad, and I didn't expect her friend to betray her.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe I'm as naive as she is, but I thought, oh, good, she has a friend. She won't be alone. I was just as heartbroken when he was paddling on her.
You didn't even know him yet, though.
I know, but she said of all the people, he was the nicest guy, you know?
Yeah.
Also that it hinted that maybe, he liked her and stuff, because they were all kind of, drunk and thought, I thought that he had, maybe a little crush on her and wouldn't do that, but...
When he was saying you want me to go alone with you, all drunkenly and confused, you know? That told me that they weren't that close, because somebody really close to her would have kind of been able to pick up on her intention a little more.
Well, that just reveals how naive I am.
All right, now since we're done with going over the chapters, then we'll just we'll go over to the theories and predictions corner. Actually, you know what? Before theories and predictions, I just want to get your thoughts on some of the characters we met so far. We've only had them for a couple chapters, but what are your thoughts on Kelsier?
I love him. He's my favorite.
Yeah, he's great. He's my favorite too.
He acts like how I would usually play a video game where you get to choose your choices.
Yeah. I just love the contrast or juxtaposition of him, of how terrible the world is, how awful people can be, some of the worst bad guy characters I've seen, and that he alone is standing up against it with his goodness. He's even smiling all the time. He's just, his entire character is to oppose them. So I really like that. I love characters that are like archetypes almost. So So far, he seems like that. Maybe he'll reveal himself to be super evil or something too. But
I don't know, Sheta. I don't think he's going to be evil, but I wonder if there's a darker side to him, you know?
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I don't really trust anyone who smiles too much, So
Somebody who's been through that and has seen that much bad stuff.
yeah.
And I won't know till I know what more of the themes of the book are going to be, but
Pretty much so far, it's just been playing Mass Effect. Whenever you get a renegade option, just choose it.
yeah, but also be a good guy at the same time.
Well, Mass Effect, you're still a good guy. You do take out the evil.
You can be a real bad guy in there if you want to be. Yeah, you take out the threat to all of life, but that doesn't make you a good guy.
All right, then let's jump over to Vin. What are you two thinking about Vin so far in her couple chapters?
I'm really interested in her life outlook. I think
Yeah,
theme's going to be her coming to trust people again, grappling with trusting or not, all that stuff.
yeah, I really like her. She's very cute and like I always like characters with such sad origin stories. Just has known nothing but misery and mistreatment. So I also really like them being so mistreated and then suddenly finding out they're the most special person in the whole story. Like,
Yeah.
and they're actually the main character and they're gonna be treated completely different now and stuff. So I hope it doesn't the power doesn't corrupt her.
Yeah, Shita, this is the villain. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, I hope not.
I really like you see a lot about her life. I like the ongoing thing about being a girl in these kind of groups, is not good. It's very dangerous. Having the thing where she's got to be tougher than anyone else, and that she's the part where she says that she didn't wear the earring because she's worried it would make her more feminine, to everyone, because she wants to avoid that as much as possible, reminding people that she's a girl because of, things bad people will do if they, think
The
about that too
implication,
much.
Justin.
Yeah, the implication. I think that's really interesting to discuss because I know it's always a thing when you have like any criminal group that has a girl in it. She's going to be one of the toughest fuckers in there because if she wasn't, she would not have survived that long.
Yeah. I thought it was very sad for her to like want to stay out of sight though when they're all like feeling in a revelous mood. It's like I'm
Yeah,
just
the
gonna
after party
hide
drinking
like
is a dangerous time for her, right?
yeah, like let me just go hide and make myself not seen.
Yeah.
Like this is very sad and dangerous. And I will never forgive her brother for leaving her because that's just the meanest thing. Like how could you
But
leave
that's
your
like
sister?
that's that common archetype, that like tough love guy, he leaves you
Yeah,
also
but
to help
that's
you learn a
a
lesson
sister,
too. And to
but
keep
huh?
yeah, but
What?
also to keep himself from being weak too, if he had a
Oh,
weakness for her,
fuck him.
I think
I
they
don't
said
care.
something like that where that's why he had to leave,
He also beat her a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, to teach her a lesson.
He seems like a Viserys type. I don't like him. That's Daenerys' brother. I'm glad I don't have an older brother.
If you had an older brother, I don't think he'd be on Viserys or Reen level.
No, I just think older brothers are terrible. Just from the
Yep,
stories I read.
that's how they
Huh?
all are. That's
Yep.
how they all are.
Hmm.
You beat you, they get a little too touchy, they've got megalomaniacal visions of ruling.
They just use you and they leave you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep,
Justin, are you
yep.
saying this is what you do to your younger siblings?
Well, I do, try to toughen everyone up, beat them all the time, make sure that they can benefit me, sell them off to Dothraki princes,
Yeah,
whatever
marry
will
them off
benefit
for your
me.
benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Sell your sister for an army.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a whole army, man. Come on, would you not?
And then Doxson. A little bit you've seen of him. How do you feel about him?
He seems like he's going to be the shooting of this book to me.
For the friend?
Mm-hmm.
I already have my casting for him.
That was fast, Jesus.
For
I don't think they give
Doxson?
us
Yeah. Maybe it's because the audiobook narrator is doing a voice or an accent. I'm just like, oh, I know exactly who's gonna play him.
Well, don't tell me. Last time you told me one ahead of time, I got stuck with it.
Yeah, I won't. I didn't know we were gonna do the casting, so I wouldn't have said it. But
Oh yeah, this audiobook is done by Michael Kramer. You know, a lot of Cosmere fans will know him because he's done a lot of Cosmere audiobooks and Wheel of Time, and yeah, he's really good.
Nice. I was kind of sad when it wasn't the same guy as the one who did Elantris. So. But I like this one too. I like him.
Yeah, Michael Kramer and his wife Kate Redding, they also do a lot of other audiobooks together. I like them a lot. Like, since Roy Dotrice had passed away, I kind of would like. I think it would be nice if they would do the Winds of Winter whenever that comes out. Either them or just have the guy who did Fire and Blood do.
I just want Stephen Fry to do every book.
Did he do the American publishing for Harry Potter as well, or is it only the UK ones?
UK. Jim Dale does the American one.
Okay. Okay, and then how are you two feeling about this world? Both the geography and climate of it, and also how the government seems to be structured right now.
I of course like the overcast, grim setting as well as the creepy government setting. Like I said before, but all I can say is I'm glad not to live in it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, it seems like the worst place ever. I'm glad that, and like our good guys or our people fighting against it are gonna. They have to have a really bad place to rebel to. So I think it's really fun. It's fun because I know, or in Elantris, he does a really good job of doing bad guys or unlikable characters, and then doing really likable characters too. So it's fun to see him play with that a little bit on a bigger scale. Because he kind of played with how the nobles were a little bit, kind of like snooty or out of touch and stuff like that. But now he's really playing with them being like just a bad, evil government and stuff. Like,
Oh, it's
almost
early,
like
but from these two. Oh, sorry, Sheta.
oh, just that we hear a little bit about how bad like the other countries are, but we don't really see it firsthand. But in here, we just are in it. So
I was thinking that too, compared to the Fjordell. You know, we hear about the Wern on the throne and all that stuff. I wonder if there's similar archetypes of villains. That and the, what did they call the Eternal King guy here?
Lord Ruler.
Yeah, Lord Ruler. I know it's early in the book, but I really get a feeling that I'm across these two. I'm starting to get idea of what institutions the author doesn't necessarily always think the highest of or trust, and those would definitely be the rich and any government in power, especially when you mix in the casualness with which totalitarian bureaucracies just lead to people getting killed, you know? Like if it's the noble class in Elantris where they're just like thinking of them as workers, or in this one where they're just being rented out by people, you know? Kind of like, you know, in like Nazi Germany, the people who were responsible for the most people being killed were the people who just signed the documents and said, go do this, you know? So I feel like if I'm going to read all this guy's books, I'm going to learn a lot about what he thinks about the world.
Yeah, I feel like just from this little bit, this one already feels darker than what Elantris felt like. Because Elantris did have dark moments.
Yeah.
But this one you already have, you have the slave life people where they'll just kill them because, beat them because, they'll take and rape the women and then kill them afterwards because the women can't get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, that's the other thing. Oh, sorry.
Done with, like you said, it's all done with a casualness to it. It's like,
mm-hmm.
oh, yep, and just the obligators. Like, yeah, I see that. Yeah, you have sex with them, but you take care of it. So no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
yeah.
The other thing that seems like it's gonna has a similarity is the kind of racial aspect to who has the magics, like the inheriting thing. Like if it's just the noble class who has it, which is similar to Elantris too.
Is this the prequel? Are the nobles Elantrians?
I would be surprised if it was, Sheta.
No, this is a different planet. Elantris is on the planet Cell. This is on the planet Scadrial.
Yeah, but they could have landed
on
Earth, on that planet later.
Yeah, we don't know the rules. You could have interplanetary travel. One planet could become another. I don't know what any of this shit means yet.
We already know they can teleport.
How do you know they can teleport?
No, we
And
know
Atlantis-
Lantrians can teleport.
Yeah.
Also, I do think the mist people can teleport through the mists.
Yeah, well, yeah, we already said, or they already said that too. That I almost called him Rayoden, but our main guy can go through walls and things.
All right. Then some other stuff that came up through here that I'll ask you about. Well, hold on. What about Cayman? How do you feel about Cayman? And do you think is he going to come back and play a bigger role later in the story?
I think he might. Not a bigger role, but I think he'll come back. Or we'll hear how he's just beaten to death in the streets somewhere, one of the two.
I think that his end is going to be our girl's beginning.
All right. So now, all right. So question. We'll just start off with the mists. The Skaa are afraid to go out to the mist. However, Kelsier goes out there willy nilly, and also you would have had at Lord Trusting Manor, the noble, whoever was going out there to grab the Skaa girl, he was walking through the mist. So, and also you heard that they were worried about mist wraiths that would disguise themselves as people. So, what exactly is going on with the mist that the Skaa are so frightened by?
Do
I
you have
think
an
it's
answer?
just superstition. Yeah, I think it's just superstition spread to keep them from trying to get away or travel or do anything.
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
Maybe it is a bit dangerous, but I don't think it's how they're thinking it is.
I think it's just like a made up so they can hire less guards to watch them. Like, oh yeah, the mist will get you if you leave, and then maybe a couple people get killed or go missing. And they're just like, oh yeah, that's true. Maybe there is a small element of truth in there that will just reinforce that idea for the people.
All right. So then, since you think it's superstition, do you believe that mist wraiths are real or not?
Oh, I have a theory.
I hope they're real, because I'd like to see some monster stuff.
Did Sheta say she had a theory?
Yeah,
You did?
I have a theory. I have a theory that mist wraiths are real. They're like actually creatures in there, and they are the Steel Inquisitors. Is that what they're called? Steel Inquisitors? Yes. And to tame them, you have to put screws in their eyes.
Wow, that's a very specific theory, Sheta.
Yep.
I'll be very impressed.
So what are they like without the screws in their eyes?
Probably like anything else in the wild. Maybe like, I don't know why I imagine them like birds of prey and stuff. But maybe there's some good ones in there.
Birds of prey like hawks, are you saying?
Huh? Yeah, like hawks just flying around in the mist. Maybe they have their own little nests and communities and stuff.
But they're like people, right?
Yeah. But they're also kind of wild, I think. They're not like people.
All right.
So they're like hawks, and they put screws in their eyes and they turn into people?
Well, they get controlled with magic.
I want to know where the hawk thing came from. That's what I'm having trouble with.
It's just the wraith thing. I just imagine them flapping around in the mist, that's all.
Flapping around.
Yeah.
That's pretty intimidating. If I came across that.
Right?
Full-grown man flapping around.
Yeah.
All right, and then one thing, it was just one word in one sentence in the prologue, but they were worried that if Lord Ruler heard about it, they would send the Koloss after them. What do you believe the Koloss is?
I don't think I can make an informed decision on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wild guess. Just throw it out there.
Have to assume there's some kind of souped-up nightmare guard, just like in the first book.
Yeah, maybe an elite version of the Screw Eye people. Like super buffed up ones with steroids.
I mean, that theory's as good as any other, I could say.
We know that Kelsier, he's going to have a meeting with a bunch of people later that night, and that he told Doxson that Doxson wouldn't believe what he has planned. So what do you think Kelsier's plan is that he's getting everyone together for?
Well, this book's moving pretty fast, so I think they're going to infiltrate their Grand King guy, their Yorn guy, and do something crazy this quickly into the book.
Well, they sound like, I don't know. Do they live in the Final Empire? That's the name of the country?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're in the city of Luthadel, which is the capital that's in. The Final Empire split into 5 areas called dominances. There's northern dominance, eastern dominance, central dominance, southern, western. So they're pretty much right in the middle of the central dominance at Luthadel.
Mm-hmm. I think his long-term plan is to free the slaves, so some kind of resistance.
And the final empire is pretty much everything. There's not like other countries, just the final empire.
It's the world, is that it?
Yep.
He's got to have a pretty big plan because he was saying, wait a bit and things will change to those people in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. We got a small hint with the Lord who was planning to pay his Skaa. So maybe he has some kind of ties to some sympathetic noble people.
Yeah.
Lord Renew.
Yeah. So maybe there's, people like that tied to the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they're breeding a bunch and making a bunch of, like, an army of superpowered people.
I don't think so, because they were saying how rare it was.
Yeah, but try.
I'm sure the noble would be into that.
Look, I suppose I must do this for the good of the world. Just line up all the Skaa women.
All right, and then Vin's somewhat friend Ulef, who kind of betrayed her. Is he gonna show back up and be a part of the story and try to make up for it, or is he just out of the story?
I personally don't ever expect to see him again in a serious role. I'm sure he'll show up in the background, but I don't expect him to be a major character.
I hope he shows up so she can not forgive him.
Okay. All right, so now I'll ask you, not a prediction for what you think is going to happen in the rest of the book. We'll get to that maybe in another episode or two, but you have a little bit of a taste of it. You know some of the characters. So what are kind of your hopes that you're looking for in this story that you would like to see happen?
Oh, just go around killing slavers and smashing the system down, fighting all kinds of messed up steak-eyed dudes. Just all kinds of crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, I hope they just mist into their homes and just slit their throats and leave, and burn all their houses down. But I want them to use all their powers and just go full force.
You just want a slavery slaughtering escapist fantasy? Is that it?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, they'll do that for a while, a couple chapters. Yeah, I hope they do that, and then if there's any resistances, they'll just fight them too. I do like the idea of them putting a group together. I'm really excited to see what they do.
All right. And then, so far, are there any ships that you're putting together? Any relationships you want to see?
I have the same amount as last book. None.
Well, I don't want to say anything.
Why?
Because I don't want to get shat on. Well, I'm a personal fan of the older mentor and the young learner romance, so I like them too. I hope they start a relationship. I guess we don't know how old. I don't know. I'm sorry. What's the main guy's name again?
Kelsier.
Kelsier, yeah.
Didn't they say he's probably in his 30s?
37.
Okay. And then Vin is
16.
16.
Oh, so it's the really older, younger thing, Sheta.
Well, that still works for me. Yeah, it's not too old. But yeah. Maybe they'll train her until she turns 18 and then they'll
Yeah, because they really care about that in fantasy worlds.
Yeah. Well, she has to mature too and learn some things first.
Any and are there any questions or anything that came up while you were reading that you hope you get answered throughout this book?
Well, a million. What the hell is going on? What is anything? Who is anybody? Just basic questions like that.
Yeah. I'm curious to learn about the magic a bit more too. What do all the different metals do? And what kind of things can they do with their powers. Like,
Yeah, I'm also
Yeah.
interested in the magic system in this one.
mhm.
Well, I guess you're just 3 chapters in. You already know why the book's called Mistborn.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I knew why the book was called Elantris from the first chapter, so if that's how we're judging it, that one has this one beat.
Yeah, but well, then I guess we'll just move on to the characters and quotes. So, who was your character of the week this week?
I already said mine. It was he named Kelsier. He's my kind of guy. These books are 2 for 2 for introducing a cool guy I like immediately because he's my favorite archetype.
Yeah, he's also my favorite. I love that that kind of jokey, smiling guy all the time, but he just seems to have the smile to have it. Like, he doesn't seem like he's actually happy or anything. I loved his
Well-
reasoning for it. It was great.
I agree. That was very cool.
And like when you see someone smiling, you have to you feel a little happier too, a little more positive. So he's always doing what he can.
Well, it depends on who's looking at him.
Yeah.
If you're about to fight somebody and then they start smiling at you, I'm not feeling happy.
Oh yeah. Then you're not on the same side, so who cares about you?
And I think my character, I'll probably have to go to Kelsier as well. He's just entertaining, and same thing. He's sort of the kind of character I'd, root for. Just, all right, bad shit's going down. All right, I'm gonna go out with these myths, kill everybody, and then burn down the fucking mansion.
Yeah. Because a lot of times, or sorry, that happens where you're like, oh, I can't stand for this, and the person goes out there, and like you'd have to kill everyone, or else they'll come after you. Like that's the only way to do it. So that's why no one stands up, because they don't have that kind of power and stuff. But he did, which was very cool and satisfying.
All right, and then quotes for the week.
I gotta find mine again, so Shitty, you can go first.
Okay. All right. My quote is when Kelsier pours out the food and all these Skaa are eating and stuff. Kelsier turns to the old man and is like, "Oh, you're not eating?" And the old man goes, "No, indeed. The last time I tried Lord's food, I had stomach pains for 3 days. New tastes are like new ideas, young man. The older you get, the more difficult they are to stomach." Which is just that I really like that old man character. That would be my runner-up actually for favorite character. Because that was a lot of world building too to me. That Kelsier's coming in with a lot of new ideas, and that's dangerous.
That is an interesting one for that reason.
All right, I'll just go. Mine, it's just, with the meeting between Kelsier and just a way that you really kind of get to know both characters. All right, just talking to Kelsier. So you did have something to do with Lord Tresting's death. Kelsier smiled. You could say that. His murder caused quite a stir among the local nobility. That was kind of the intention. Though, to be honest, I wasn't planning anything quite so dramatic. It was more of an act than anything else. Doxon raised an eyebrow. How do you accidentally kill a nobleman in his own mansion? With a knife in the chest, Kelsier laughed lightly. Or rather, a pair of knives in the chest. It always pays to be careful. Doxon rolled his eyes. His death isn't exactly a loss, Dox. Even amongst the nobility, Tresting had a reputation for cruelty. I don't care about Tresting. I'm just considering the state of insanity that led me to plan another job with you. Attacking a provincial lord in his manor house surrounded by guards? Honestly, Kel, I've forgotten how foolhardy you can be. Foolhardy? Kelsier asked with a laugh. That wasn't foolhardy. That was merely a small diversion. You should see some of the things I'm planning to do. Doxon stood for a moment, then he laughed too. By the Lord Ruler, it's good to have you back, Kel. I'm afraid I've grown particularly boring during the last few years. We'll fix that. Like I said, just an easy way to get to kind of know both characters right off the bat.
Yeah, I forgot about that quote. Makes me kind of nervous about Kelsier. He's a lot more violent than I'm remembering. Like,
Yeah.
I think,
He
he's
killed
just
a bunch
nice.
of
Like,
people.
yeah, a classical good guy. He's non-violent. Would save lives rather than take them.
Well, the rebellion leaders, they're always so useful during the rebellion, but they can get real scary when they don't have anyone to kill,
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mine is in the same part as what Sheta's was, where they're talking after eating and all that. He says, "You're satisfied with this then?" says Kelsier. "You're content with a life full of beatings and endless drudgery?" Menace replies, "At least it's a life. I know that wages, malcontent, and rebellion bring. The eye of the Lord rule and the ire of the steel ministry can be far more terrible than a few whippings. Men like you preach change, but I wonder, is this a battle we can really fight?" To which Kelsier replies, "You're fighting it already, Goodman Menace. You're just losing horribly." I really like
Aw.
that part because, you can choose to just let this stuff happen, but it's not like you can have it not be happening. So I thought it was really funny that you see his perspective is you're just losing. You're not getting by, you're not doing the best that you can. You're just losing a fight that every man must fight. I
Yeah.
thought that was
Like,
really interesting.
you think you're just surviving and that's good enough, but
Mm-hmm.
you're not really living. That was a really good one.
I thought that was very funny. That made me instantly think, I fucking love this guy.
All right. Anything overall with these 4 chapters that we read this week that you two wanted to go over?
No, we touched everything I wanted to do.
Yeah.
All right. So then we'll look on to next week. It's not going to be like it was at the end of Elantris. We're just doing 2 chapters 4 and 5.
Jesus,
Nice.
all right.
Yep. One's a much longer one, and then chapters 4 and 5 next week. And also, so I wanted to go through, and I found a couple more, another review, and we did get another email this past week. So I went to Podcast Addict, went on there, looked, and there was a review left there. It has been a while. Like I said, it's harder for me to find those, and also we do record a couple weeks in advance. So this one was by Daryl Guns. His review was that he enjoyed the first 2 episodes so far. Thought the idea to start with speculation based on book cover art was fantastic. I look forward to your journey through the Cosmere.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, thank you. We hope that our journey is entertaining for you.
All right. Then we got an email from a person named Andreas, and it also looks like he's in Sweden.
Oh, nice.
All right, then. Hey, I've been listening to your podcast and enjoying the episodes. Just wanted to let you know that you have a fan. I'm looking forward to see who gets shipped with who in Mistborn.
Fun, yeah. Me too.
See, Sheta, so don't hold back. It's what the people want to hear. Well, the people who stuck around, not the people who left immediately after that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see more characters too.
We already got Kelsier Vin ship.
Yeah, you've already shipped a 35-year-old and a 16-year-old, Sheta.
Hey, it's not my fault that was one of the covers. Like,
What the
I
one
didn't
where
plan-
you said what you called it, like Geralta of Rivia and the buxom young lass.
Yep.
I don't believe that buxom young lass is this character. They
Well, who
describe
else would
her
it
as
be?
being quite skinny and kind of boyish.
Well, that's just because she's been hiding it from these bad guys. But once she finds her power, she's gonna unzip her shirt.
What little I know about the writer, I don't actually believe there's going to be a buxom young lass. I think that was a lie. And I'm going to be very disappointed.
She might have to use her sexuality to infiltrate and stuff. Oh.
Why would she need to do that when she's got the power to, make people feel or control their feelings?
She has to use everything within her means.
I just don't think he's that kind of writer.
I think this book has been so far different than Elantris, so
that's true.
Anything can happen.
Very true.
I hope so. I'm imagining some kind of Ocean's 11 heist, infiltration, spy fantasy thing. So,
it's just because you said it, but I've got that in my head too, Sheta.
No, it's all there.
Yeah.
He's putting together a group. They need a smoker. They have this new young girl with powers they want to recruit and stuff. That's just exactly how those movies go.
Oh yeah, one thing I think would be, I'll just bring up, let you know, is, as you know, because, so you already know it's a trilogy, and the entire trilogy was written before the first one was published.
Wow.
So it's
was
not
it touched up, though? Changed a bit? Or was it just set and ready to go?
I would assume that there were bits that were touched up, but each book I think was only published a year apart. So it just shows that it's it's not like the sort of stuff where publish a book, you see how fans react to it, and then you write the second one off of that. It's he already knew the whole story for all three books by the time the first one was published.
Oh, so you're saying the second book's gonna piss me off because of something like that?
What?
You're saying the second book is gonna piss me off because he didn't get fan reaction, and he's like, "Oh fuck, they're gonna hate that." Well, it's already written.
No, no, it's not the sort of stuff where it's just like I just more mean like, all right, publish a book. Oh, fans like Felicity. Oh, we need more of her.
Oh no!
It's something where from point A to point Z, he knew what he was gonna have.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff that usually I like more. I don't like from time to time with stuff, if you do get like, certain characters, if they are popular, they kind of get moved up. But I hate it when writers or television shows just completely change the narrative to try to push something that just doesn't work.
What about
I love when they change the narrative to push something that does work, though. I was going to say him or Spike.
Yeah.
Or Ben, even, from Lost.
Yep, Ben.
Yeah, that sort of stuff does work, but like, yeah, you do get the other. But also, I think some of that, too, was just more like the people working with it realized, hey, this is good.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't like too much fan influence, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Because the fans who are going to influence it are going to be the loudest, stupidest ones. All the normal people aren't going to be saying, we want this stupid thing. They're just,
You should do this person. No.
They're not. The Kylo shippers are always going to be the loudest fucking people,
Ren and Kylo, is that what you said?
Yeah. Why do you think they kissed in that last movie? It's because the shippers were so loud. And they were putting that in for them for God knows what reason.
Yeah, that was stupid. There was like nothing in the first movie.
No.
Nothing
The second at all, but the shippers were so loud. It's just like Chewie getting the medal. They think they're appeasing fans, but everyone's like, why the fuck did that happen?
Oh.
Yeah, no. I like Brandon Sanderson's style so far. Get the books out. Thank you. We also only have so many years to live, and I don't want to wait like half my life to finish a book series.
Oh, that's a big reason why I have not read Kingkiller Chronicles yet. I'm waiting until the third book actually gets announced.
I mean, announced in the same way Winds of Winters has been announced?
No, that it's announced. Oh, yep. Third book, Kingkiller Chronicles. Here's the publishing date. Because I just want to know that before I get into it. Because, yeah, I'm already waiting for Winds of Winter. I'm having to do all sorts of waiting for Hunter x Hunter chapters. I don't need to throw another thing that I'm waiting.
I wouldn't count my chickens on the Hunter x Hunter chapters. I don't think that one's ever going to finish.
We just got new chapters last year.
Yeah, we keep getting new chapters. But the story moves so slow, I don't expect to ever see it brought to completion.
But, all right, we're rambling. Let's tie this up. So, thank the people for the reviews, emails, and everything.
Thank you.
If you wanna give more emails, give your thoughts. I'll share it with Justin Sheta. If you don't want me to share it with them, say please don't.
Oh God, what are they saying about us? Man,
I
Justin sucks. Don't tell him.
You should kick her out.
Podcast. Don't tell her though. Don't tell her I said it.
I was more thinking if they post like, all right, hey, I'm so and so. Here's my social security number. Please don't put that on the podcast.
Okay, just don't send in your social security number. That's my advice. In fact, don't ever give out your social security number to anyone that you don't have to.
All right, so let's do the plugs. You two can it's usually Justin first. So this time, Sheta, give your plugs first.
Okay. My Instagram handle is my name, Sheta_Low, and then my other one for my cosplay is Mermaid Machete, and I usually try to post every so often.
Honesty, that's good. All right, I am known as Profanity Beaver on most social medias. You can Follow me to see things.
That sounds like ominous. Can you elaborate?
What sounds ominous about it? I stand by that plug.
Oh my god.
See, sometimes you got to exaggerate what you're offering to get a new audience, Sheta.
Well, this is the first episode of this book. Now someone's going to be confused.
You're right.
And
Somebody who started here.
yeah, they're
I
going to think,
stand by it
geez.
still.
Yeah, well, don't. Yeah, I guess, check it out and see if you like it.
Oh,
Our next review. I went to Profanity Beaver's Instagram and I was very disappointed.
for the overall show, you can follow us on the site formerly known as Twitter, now known as Key, a most ancient letter, at Cosmere Chron, CosmereChron. And also, if you want to email us about stuff, just CosmereChronicles@gmail.com. Yeah, we have a YouTube if you want to leave comments on the YouTube videos. They're just the podcast episodes. Leave us reviews on whatever you're listening to the podcast. Give us ratings, preferably higher ones. That way it can help however these so-called algorithms work, so it can go to other people, so that way they can get to it. And then eventually we can get noticed enough so that White Castle will finally sponsor us.
Yes, that's our dream.
It's what we crave.
Stay on the White Castle train.
Hey, don't give up on your dreams, brah. What kind of message would that be for the fans?
That's true. Never give up.
Mm-hmm.
Always shoot for the White Castle.
Yep.
I gave up on the dream of ever reading Spider-Man comics.
You have to fill that void with White Castle. At least White Castle will not disappoint you.
Off topic, Joe, but have you looked into the Ultimate Spider-Man comics they're doing? Because it's literally just what everyone wanted the normal comics to be about. And it's selling like crazy.
No, because then I have to spend money buying comics again.
Yeah, spend money. That's how people do it.
Well, I think that'll be it for this week's episode. Remember, next week, chapters 4 and 5 of The Final Empire. So everyone, go out there, go to the castle, eat food, and have fun.
I don't know how to follow that up. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye.